Stories carved in cliffs of Machu Picchu keys
Welcome, everybody. How's everyone doing? Drop in the chat. Where's everyone from? Where are you tuning in from tonight, today in the US? We just want to welcome Edwin again. Edwin is going to be speaking about the sacred sites here in South Africa tonight. He's going to hone in on one of the beautiful sites individually in the coming series that we're going to do once a month. And we just want to say welcome, Edwin. We had the privilege of spending the week last week with Edwin at Adam's Calendar while filming a documentary. And it was absolutely beautiful. We were there at sunrise, sunset, and just seeing all the alignments with the celestial bodies, the moon and the sun. And it was absolutely gorgeous. So just want to welcome you, Edwin. Welcome everyone for tuning in. And let's get started. Yeah.
Amazing. And a little logistical note, if as we go through this, if you have questions as Edwin presents, drop them in the chat. You might put a Q next to them or the word ask or something, and we will highlight those questions, note them down, and if there's time towards the end, we'll do a bit of a Q&A session. If you have questions from last time, if you were here at the last one of these events, then also bring those questions, drop them in the chat as well. And I'd also love to know who was here at the last one. If you were here at the previous one, you've already been to one of Edwin's presentations. It was a little over a month ago. Then drop a 1 in the chat. If not, welcome. And you're in for a real treat. Edwin is absolutely amazingly so full of knowledge about these sacred sites, how they work, the vibrations, the ancient technology, and what we can do with them today in the modern time. So welcome, Edwin. You should be able to unmute. It's good to have you here.
Yes, good evening, Aaron, and good evening, Lee. Thank you everyone for coming again, and hope to have this knowledge again exposed to us as a civilization, as humanity. And we know actually where we're coming from, where we are, and where we are probably headed. Thank you so much.
It's good to have you here, Edwin. Just dive on in. I'm excited to hear about the sites you're going to be speaking about today.
Yes, basically, we were trying to touch on, in the last session, we touched on various ancient heritage, cultural, and civilization sites that are dotted all over the world. And I was saying that we've got almost 303 sacred sites that one can actually visit and actually resonate with this ancient frequency that many people are now talking about across the world, on various continents, various civilizations. And we are not the only civilization that has passed through this grid. And we now see what we term the fingerprints of the gods dotted across all the continents. It's not just in Africa, where I am here in South Africa, but basically all over the world. We've got these various ancient sites which have just mind blown a lot of people and just made people to fundamentally ask questions about what could have been happening in the past. Is it that we are the only species that was very advanced? And today I would like to touch on something that is also part of this journey and also aligned to Adam's calendar and Inzalo Yelanga per se, which is the place we call the birthplace of the sun here in South Africa. We also have these ancient stone ruins and symbols in these structures that we have also been able to unveil and actually question and research about, to try and figure out what these symbols actually entailed, and whoever constructed them, why they were constructing such symbols on our landscape, and why these symbols repeating to be seen in various temples across the world. We see temples in Turkey, temples in Peru, Mayan temples. We see the Dravidian temples, Southeast India, Hindu, the Indus Valley, Egypt. We see symbolism all over the place. And these symbols begin to have something of a connection. And this connection has baffled scientists and researchers alike. And people have been asking questions. Why is it that in South Africa we find a symbol that we are also going to find in Peru, that we are also going to find in Mexico, that we are also going to find in China? We are also going to find these symbols in Egypt, in the Indus Valley, India. We see symbols repeating themselves. Machu Picchu, Gobekli Tepe, symbols that have been seen at Adam's calendar in South Africa. You see them again in Egypt, and people begin to ask questions. What was this all about? Is it a single civilization that was going all over the place, placing these symbols randomly in temples and structures and other places, that like caves, paintings in caves, and other places that people are traveling today trying to figure out what was actually taking place on the planet? And today we have such a symbol that we are going to also discuss about. And this symbol is the symbol of the womb. And this is a fertility symbol that has also baffled a lot of people. Why fertility? What is all this you're talking about? Fertility. And when I talk about fertility, a lot of things come into our minds. And these are some of the questions that are raised. Is it about women? Because we know that fertility is all about rebirth, but also fertility is about death. And we find also symbolisms of such nature that we have on our landscape here in South Africa. We've got a symbol that is actually constructed on the ground here in South Africa. And this symbol is a fertility stone circle or a stone ruin, which is actually in the shape of the womb, the cross section of the woman's womb. Now, a lot of people then begin to ask, why would a cross section of the woman's womb be used symbolically for some other purpose that it could have possibly been used for certain reference to something that was very important, whether it was to nature or it was to humans or it was to animals or it was to certain cycles in our solar system, renewals and rebirth. And this is a fertility symbol. And this symbol is one of a very rare kind of a fertility symbol that has been discovered here in South Africa on our landscape in Mpumalanga region. And this symbol has also brought about fascination in as much as it has brought about a lot of questions as to why this symbol actually exists on our landscape. And in the middle of nowhere, you find this symbol is in the shape of the womb, as I said. but that is the figure of 8, which is the yin and the yang. Again, the yin and the yang, you're talking about something like you already thinking about the Chinese and Japanese cultures and other symbolisms that they talk about. But as I was saying, everything in human nature becomes biomimicry. We begin to link up things across the entire planet. There is no element that becomes isolated from the other as we begin to unravel the mysteries of symbolisms and human existence on our planet. And this symbol, the local shaman and Sha women, they referred to it as an Itzalo. Now, an Itzalo, which symbolically referred to the meeting place between God and man. Now, why would a womb of the feminine or a woman be the meeting place between God and man? That would be a very fascinating question, and also fascinating, something very interesting you might pick up there. Fertility would therefore definitely be symbolic to reproductive ability. When we say something is fertile, we are actually referring to its ability to reproduce, seen in the earth, seen in humans and animals and plants and ideas, probably art, depending on its context. It can be various meanings too, as you measure offspring and fruits, and also the quality of the produce that is actually emanating from this reproductive ability, which is the womb. Now, it means that we are now looking at the earth as a she, and then symbolically, language has also been placed with a she. So it's a feminine grid. And the planet that we are on probably could have been firstly invaded by the feminine energy, or at least something to say that the women are the first to have come onto the planet. Now, I don't want to make a lot of people start to argue about this, because a lot of arguments are going to be raised to say, no, it's the other way around. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Because that's basically what people will begin to start arguing about, because I know that's the nature. But when it goes into deep spiritual meaning of life and checking all the elements of the chromosomes and other aspects, you are going to see that we've got the Mother Earth, and we've got the Mother Tongue, and we've got Gaia, we've got all these symbolisms of the first generation being the exposure of the feminine energy on our landscape. So that's basically you have different kinds of these symbols propping up and all referring or being a pointer to the feminine energy that actually reproduced all elements on our planet. Even your car, I think, even your bicycle, you know what, how we refer to in its aspect, we call it a she. A vehicle will be she, the bicycle will be she. Everything that is then reproduced by men and placed on the planet is actually referred to as her, because that's the first symbol of first instance. And this was a symbol where couples who could not have kids or children would converge on a yearly basis with the shaman and Sha woman and be able to enter into a ceremony that would be a reproductive or reproduction ceremony or a child or a childbearing ceremony that would actually be conducted at this particular site, probably because of the importance of healing and also the importance of its nature and the frequency that actually emanated from this particular point of a portal of a vibrational point that could actually keep production or rebirth in alignment, or the ability to produce actually in alignment. So we've got this fertility symbol that is here in South Africa, and symbolically, culture and literature, art history, rituals are all symbolic in nature and are aligned to this abundance of prosperity and renewal of life that humanity actually possesses today. It is actually coming out of the fertility symbolism and also the womb chakra. Then it becomes multifaceted, and across the board we have cultural symbols all over the world, and just as much as we have agricultural symbols also coming up and showing the grid of symbolic fertility that we find across our entire galaxy. So you have the soil, you have the climate, you have the food security, environment, and other things that you'll be looking at in modern the aspects of on fertility. We have other natural connections of moon cycles that you see in the stars, and all these are a pointer that there was actually a feminine grid that was present in humanity first before all other things could have probably come into being. So that's why I would actually be thinking so much about the feminine grid. And a lot of people today are asking question, what is this feminine grid, this feminine aspect that has cropped up in human consciousness? And what is it basically pointing us to? Why should we honor the feminine grid and the feminine energy? Why is everybody in all walks of life, including the men, symbolically saying, let's honor the feminine grid? Is there something that was hidden from humanity that we didn't know actually existed within our consciousness grid, that we should start honoring the feminine grid? And in the past, many other rituals and ceremonies were actually led by women. And a lot of people are not aware of this, that many ceremonies on fertility were actually led by women in the past. And then people would say, but the men are the leaders. Why are you now saying that women are the ones who led infertility ceremonies? There is so much abundant evidence that the feminine energy was actually more revered in human existence than the masculine energy. And this was symbolically used to actually heal the land, whether it was in prayer, whether it was in healing body and mind and spirit, and religion, which was not religion per se, but was actually spirituality, whether it was renewal or giving birth, it was the feminine or the females who actually led most of these ceremonies. We've got also an example here in South Africa, the rain-making queen here, that is very symbolic to fertility. Mojaji, the Queen Mojaji, is here in South Africa and was always selected from the women. There is no rain-making king. There were only rain-making queens, and there was nothing that was masculine in fertility. It is shown and it is known. We've got drum that was only supposed to be beaten or played by a woman in order to fulfill the manifestation and the link between the earth and the sky in the ceremony of fertility, of bringing forth life to the earth. So this was something that was symbolic again, in which we try to uncover the mysteries and the myths behind fertility initiations and also fertility ceremonies, and why today we think most probably why all these ceremonies had something to do with the women leading the ceremonies and also creating abundance because of the higher frequency of Mother Gaia that was respected and endowed within the feminine grid. So we've got this symbol that is actually there, and this symbol has actually baffled a lot of people and symbolism, and they've also asked questions as to the basic reasons why we now say women could probably have been first on the planet. So we've got a lot of spiritual ritual practices and connection to nature, and women are so connected to nature more than men, and that is not something that we debate about, because efficiently in spirituality the women are much more highly advanced and much more awakened to the frequency and gesture of spirituality than men, and they are so connected to the earth and more grounded to the earth, to the point that their linkage of their spiritual alignment and their antenna is much more sharper and much more highly regarded as a connector to the cosmology, seen and unseen. And the feminine grid becomes something that is actually the leader in spiritual sciences across the entire globe. And these symbols, like the Itzalo or the womb, which I am trying to explain today, is now constructed according to the frequency of that which has the power, center of power in its spiritual context to the feminine grid. So this is basically the reason why we could probably have had this symbol on the ground. Though, so when we go further to Southeast India, you find that this symbol again is in some of the temples. You actually find it. And you go to Egypt, this symbol again, you find it there in Egypt. So we are saying, why is the symbol of the womb actually basically all over the place, having its womb print all over the place? And what was so important? So this is the question that has been raised, why this was very important. But we soon discovered that it is in the womb that everything was then ultimately created, or managed or invaded the planet from the portal of the feminine grid or the portal of the womb per se. So we have connection to nature and the respect of the cycles of life that is endowed in the feminine grid. And we have ancient temples and shrines also can be found all over the world in different cultures and civilizations where you find this womb print also endowed. You've got the Greek and Romans also giving us symbols of goddesses and gods like Aphrodite. You've got the Venus. These gods and goddesses of fertility are actually imprinted in most of the temples. The goddesses of fertility in the temples of Apollo, you are going to find that you've got these gods and goddesses, mostly goddesses, which were symbols of fertility. We've got Shiva, we've got Shakti. When you go to the Hindu temples, you've got a lot of linkage to the feminine grid. When you go to Hindu temples, sculptures and fertility themes and deities like these goddesses I'm just mentioning, Shakti and Shiva. And you also go to have landscapes and sites which are also feminine in nature. You've got the Stonehenge in England. It's also a symbol of the feminine grid that awakens the ancient portals of rebirth. And you also have prehistoric megalithic structures similar to the Stonehenge depicting fertility. And one of these structures is right here in South Africa, and that is Adam's calendar, which the local shaman and shawomen also called Inzalo Yelanga, the birthplace of the sun. The birthplace of the sun. Now, it's also in context, it shows you that there was some birthing that was taking place. And what is symbolically birthing taking place? It means that we are saying that the feminine energy again is actually being exposed to humanity, that there was symbolically something to do with rebirth and actually bringing forth fruitfulness onto our planet. And this was the energy of the sun, which is the father, and the energy of the moon, which is also the mother. Despite the fact that it is called the birthplace of the sun, and not taking into consideration the element of the frequency of the moon, which is also the mother, and symbolically being linked or mated or merged within this grid to produce abundance for our planet. We've got goddesses temples in Malta and Turkey. We've got art and symbolisms, cave paintings also depicting fertility, structures and constructs reflecting on fertility, human cultures, from ancient rituals to medical advancement, depicting fertility. We've got the ankh. In Africa, we've got symbols of the ankh. A lot of people have seen these symbols in Egypt, and they actually are asking, what do these symbols actually mean? These are actually fertility symbols, symbolizing the womb. If you look at the symbol itself, it gives forth light and rebirth, and symbol of the cross section again of the womb space of the feminine energy. And it is actually carved and presented as a symbol of a renewal and eternity. And also that this is where we come from and this is where we return. And we've got seed motifs, that also symbols of fertility. In different cultures, seeds are placed on altars to symbolize the fertility, similarly to eggs. The eggs that you are also going to find being a symbol of fertility. And we've got also wooden carving, art and craft, textiles and patterns. A lot of people have seen Shah women and Shah men wearing certain colors and certain dress codes. They don't just wear clothes, any type of clothing. They have certain symbolic type of clothing that they also put on to actually expose this, the creation of fertility and the endowment of fertility from without and from within themselves, because color also is a frequency of fertility, and it's all these artwork and crafts in textiles and textures and patterns that you see that are being worn by shaman and Shah women as symbolic to fertility and renewal and also rebirth, to actually show that this is a sign of a rebirth. We've got fertility masks. A lot of people have come to Africa and have seen people wearing masks, and they say, are they trying to hide their faces? You go to Peru, you go to Japan, you go to masks are all over the world. And people say, why are people putting on masks? People put on masks and they say, is it that they don't want their faces to be seen? Or these are new faces in town or something like that? But no, they are not new faces in town. They are certain symbolic rituals aligned with masks, which also endowment of fertility and actually reproduction. And these masks take us back to a lot of other things that could have been here on our landscape thousands and thousands of years. Energies that invoke the spirit to come into balance with color, with the nature of the shape, and also the nature of the memory and resemblance of that particular grid or alignment of energy that is endowed on that elementary symbolism of the mask that is actually worn. We also have initiation ceremonies being symbolic to rebirth, here where we have the initiation for both girls and men or boys, initiation into womanhood. There were certain steps that were taken to initiate, invoke this energy into the woman from being a small young girl to womanhood. There was something that was invoked spiritually within them. Even the men would also have this invoking of a spiritual gesture in themselves and balance, so that they awaken to their cause, that they are no longer a small boy, but they have got responsibilities that are supposed to come with womanhood and also with manhood. You had to go through a test and also an advice platform where you are told that a woman behaves this way, and a man, in order to look after his family and after his property, he had to respond and behave in a certain particular way, both spiritually and physically. That invokement I'm talking about is also symbolic to growth and uplifting, and that is a fertility instigation within the cultural aspect in all these traditions and rites of passage in also in marriage. And also we still have a culture like this in Malawi. We have Chinamwari. They still do this very ancient rites of passage, initiation into womanhood and also into manhood, which is also part of this gesture of the fertility string that I'm actually trying to explain, that there are memories and spiritual alignments or gestures that have to be invoked in these cultural exchanges, in even with modern day practice. We reflecting on the continent history, the heritage, spiritual practices we've got in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. We have Asaseya, is actually in Akan culture, where you have the goddess associated with fertility and also abundance. These are just some of the places that we're going around Africa, looking at these symbols also that are existing in different cultures, symbolizing fertility and abundance. We also have women. We have Isis, and the Isis, gene of Isis. We know Genesis, gene of Isis, the fertility symbol. And we've also got Gaia, Lakshmi is also, these are also referred to she and he, feminine energy and fertility. The symbols like the womb, the egg, the seed, all represent feminine energy grids. And the cycles of life and death and rebirth, led to rhythms of rebirth, and also are found in nature. When you see plants and trees shedding their leaves and renewing and coming into spring, which is symbolically the new year of our new year in Southern Africa. It starts in spring, which is 22 September, and that is the time symbolically the energy returns to the Southern Hemisphere, which is actually the return of the sun to the Southern Hemisphere, bringing about a renewal and fertility and more energy in resonance in some of these symbolic structures. And it goes on and on, and the shading of the leaves and also the renewal aspect in hibernation, animals, the snakes shedding their skin and renewing and coming up out of the winter from hibernation. Animals also come into this same fertility cycle. Plants in nature come out of this fertility cycle, and we go on and on. And this is a place that we should actually visit and resonate with the ancient feminine grid frequencies, where the activation and balance of the womb chakra aspect is actually going to be invoked when you come inside this grid, where even until today we still have fertility ceremonies taking place secretly in these landscapes, where people would not dare to talk about it because some have said that is taboo. And people begin to say, but why, if the ancient invoked life and made it balance with the grid of the frequency of nature, why is it that today we have actually lost memory of this knowledge and also the symbolical aspect of resonating with these frequencies? Your experience will be similar to my experience when you visit the ancient sacred sites of Africa, particularly South Africa, in the region of Malanga, where you find these symbols of renewal and the symbols of the frequencies of rebirth and aligning the mother to nature and all aspects. So thank you so much. and hoping to be seeing you at the ancient fertility stone circles of South Africa, where you will actually be able to resonate more with these frequencies and actually learn more about the healing aspect of these symbols of frequencies that were actually aligned to the feminine grid. Thank you so much.
There we go.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Edwin. That's absolutely beautiful. I have something I want to ask you that you can share a little bit on as well, at specifically at the feminine circles and the sites there, about the ringing of the stones. Can you expand a little bit more about why some of these stones sing different frequencies?
Yes, these are called the singing stones. They are not only found here at the healing circle, they are found across the world. We are talking or actually referring to almost 652 billion metric ton of these ringing stones, just one type of rock that we find in Machu Picchu, Gobekli Tepe, Nabta Playa, Adam's Calendar, Stonehenge, Great Zimbabwe, the ancient circles of South Africa, which cover an area of almost 500,000 square kilometers of land. This is just one type of rock that they used to create these gigantic amplification devices that they use sound as a measure of actually amplifying frequencies and actually creating polarity and resonance. These are actually machines. This rock here is not just a rock per se. Whoever used this rock knew the scientific advantage of the usage of this rock and what was inside the structure of this rock, because they never picked it up. They knew specifically that this rock had something to do with how they would have loved to amplify sound, because it is a magnetic rock. If you come onto these sites that I'm talking about, like the Stonehenge and Machu Picchu, and you really know how to do your instrumentation using modern electromagnetic field testers, you'll be very fascinated by these rocks. These rocks actually are frequentially magnetic rocks. They are what we would term scientifically plutonic gabbros. They are not just dolerite per se, as that's the simplex name, that's the geological name, but this scientific name for this rock, it's actually a plutonic gabbro. And even the fertility circles that I'm talking about here are also constructed from this plutonic gabbro. So you should actually ask yourself, were these people so advanced to know that the secrets of the universe actually lay in sound, frequency, and vibration? Similarly, in our modern civilization, Tesla has tried to explain this aspect to say the secret lies in sound and vibration. And if you can harness sound and frequency, and you know how frequency actually works, then you can actually do anything with it. That is abundant energy. You've got nothing to worry about on the planet in terms of energy if you know how to harness hypersonic elements in from the ether. You are gone. This is something that was in this ancient knowledge that we are trying to invoke within us, and we are trying to explain how the cosmic actually works.
So I have a follow-up question on that. Speaking about the stones, can you share a bit on the geometries of those three stone circles that you're talking about and their position with the ley lines and the different geometries that are encoded within the circles and how that resonates with the sound frequencies?
Yes, despite the fact that we've got thousands of these ancient ruins. We might have thousands of them, and there's not even one of them that has got the same cymatic pattern as the other. All of them have got a certain specific pattern, which means that we are looking at symbolically that these are cymatic patterns that are influenced by actually sound and sound structures. So the pattern that you see on these ancient stone ruins are actually the pattern of the sound structure or grid that emanates from or invoked from within the earth's plane. So these rocks are then aligned along the shape of the sound structure. This is why you see these various patterns that will never be the same. Some of them, if you look at them, when you come here, I'll actually go and show you some of the stone circles that have got a same symbolic, similar shape to an amoeba, to a modern amoeba that has been seen under a microscope in a scientific laboratory lab. You can actually go and see this. This is not something that is a secret. You can actually find out more when you come and you visit the site, and we actually display these on a scientific platform, and you say, can we have a look at the frequency of this one and check the frequency of this one and tell us what you think about what you have actually seen as this symbol, how it is actually mapped out. It's actually these sound frequencies that show these patterns of frequencies of elements, and this is not something that is secret anymore. And we know that if we could have all the symbols of frequencies of elements, you could do magic with the frequency of elements. And this is how the stone circles also are on certain meridians that have got frequencies. Adam's calendar, Great Zimbabwe ruins, Timbavati, where the white lions are, and you find Egypt. They are on the same Nilotic meridian. It's not by chance that these structures would be put on one meridian. Why would you put all these structures symbolic to human consciousness on one elementary a ley line? That would actually be meaning something. There is a meaning to that when you find that these structures on the frequency of this ley line with 33.3 hertz. Now you know the elementary frequency of the pyramids, and you now know the elementary frequency of Adam's calendar, Great Zimbabwe. It all resonates with the same particular frequency of that same ley line right up to Egypt.
That's just incredible. Can you also just talk a little bit about the site that you spoke with us about when we came to see you there at the Stone Circles, about the Megatron? Can you expand a little bit about the energy that is felt there and what you shared with us with regards to feeling it physically in the human body as well?
It's located directly above the fertility circles, so it also has a relationship to those as well. We'd love to hear about the connection between those two.
Yes, now the way these circles actually created, and these fluctuating energies and the magnetron frequencies, those ones are much of a higher frequency than the lower circles that we have. And the magnetron circles are very particular in nature. They've got something that is very particular in nature, and the type of shape of the rock, the way they shaped this Tony Gabbro is quite hugely different from the slates that we see in normal stone circles. And this probably was also on high ground, on much higher ground than the rest of the stone circles that we have, the healing and the fertility. and there are not many magnetron stone circles. And the magnetron stone circles have something very important in terms of the relation of the amplification of the energy and their uses and what they were actually used for. And I think we have a whole topic on the explanation of magnetron frequency that we'll actually learn about on another time, because it's a plethora of information that I can start now talking about. But those are actually different. They are very different in terms of construction and energy alignment. And I'll come to magnetron frequencies in the next session where we can expand more and people would be able to also ask questions on how magnetron frequency actually works.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Edwin. That's awesome. Let's see if there's a couple of questions here.
Let's see, two key questions. Somebody was asking earlier about the frequency of clothing and the colors that we wear and how that impacts the energy. And I know from my experience that absolutely the colors we wear can shift our frequency. And then also somebody is asking about if you know of something called the sky stones.
Color is a frequency. You find that when we talk of the colors and their symbols and whatever is imprinted on cloth, it actually spiritually it invokes, it's something that is invoked spiritually within the context of your alignment when you've got these symbolic colors, and how also your energy actually relates or resonates to that specific color. Because a person wearing, for example, a white shirt and another person wearing a white shirt, these two people may feel different temperatures on their body, but they are both wearing the same shirts. What could possibly have caused this to happen? People may ask. That is one simple aspect of explanation I can give to that question, in which color plays a very crucial role in invoking memory and frequencies and aligning balance within us as humans and also animals. I think people have seen the bullfight in Spain, and when you see the bull it is invoked by a certain color. It is not just any color that you bring to a bullfight arena. I'm trying to explain the aspect of invoking energy into a specific state of consciousness. Our memories can be invoked by the frequency of color. So can birds and animals and fish and all this. And when you throw a certain fish hooks, rainbow colors, nice things that are flashing in the water can attract fish to come to this. It's an invokement of energy within the center alignment of the consciousness. It is everywhere. It is in all spheres of our living organisms. And similarly to humans, it is also the same. Now I'm coming to the other question, which was the sky stones. The sky stones, there is a lot of arguments about these elements, that there are certain elements that are not part of our planetary frequencies that we find on this planet. And they also invoke memories of intergalactical travel, where the star seeds emanated from, and a lot of other aspects enshrined in ancient civilization consciousness that returns us to our original spaces in time, and how we as a human species evolved to then find ourselves on this planet, coming from different dimensions. And these sky stones hold the memories of this consciousness from our past to our present and also to our future. And these are something that are actually either symbolic, physically, or spiritually, that we then gather our history of our past and how we evolved to where we are today. And these are coming symbolically. People can put them on as necklaces, and some are passed on in the lineage structures. Some come having been generational symbols that are in a family and are passed on either spiritually or physically. It depends with the nature of the frequencies that these lineages from different planets and different star systems actually arrived at this particular place where we are today.
Amazing. Wow. Really cool. Tracy asked if this is like Moldavite.
Yes,
Hmm.
those are the crystals that actually in lineages. Some of them have got frequency, which the element actually is passed on. And there are very many groups of these sky stones. There are plenty more, many groups. You need hundreds of charts actually to be sifting into their energies, into their colors, and into their symbolisms, and also into their frequencies. So it's not just one particular rock. There are thousands of different crystals that are in existence on this planet. Some of them are not even found on the riverbeds of this planet, that are actually here on this planet, that are actually in possession of certain lineages. This is why I'm actually saying it's not just one type of rock. Moldavite is one type of a sky stone, but then I'm saying there are thousands of them that we can go and research on, and we'll find that we won't finish them.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to ask, just for those who don't know, just as a reference point, can you just define what is the concept of a star stone?
It's a spiritual concept. It's not a physical concept. This is why I'm putting a demarcation line between a spiritual concept and a physical knowledge structured concept of one person who wants to say, I know this symbolism of a sky stone like this. I'm saying it comes in relation to something that is passed on through lineages. Now, if symbolically an energy is passed on through lineages, either physically or spiritually, one would possess that energy, spiritual energy in them, and one can just possess that invoking. This is why I said now you've got crystals and several names that you actually come with and say, this is my sky stone because I received it from so and it's passed down through a lineage. And it's a symbol that you can see being held in your hand. And some of them are necklaces, some of them are kept in boxes, some of them are kept under the sea, some of them are kept under the mountains, some of them are kept in homes, in safes and other things. And those are symbolic. But I'm saying it's a frequency. It's actually a consciousness that they are talking about. Yes.
Beautiful. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Edwin, and
Thank you.
everyone else that's turned up today for this. It's been great to have you here. And we'll be doing this again in a couple of weeks or about a month,
Yeah,
and diving into one of the next sites.
amazing. And then once again, Edwin, can you maybe just tell us real quick the significance of why you suggested that we come walk the journey there at Adam's calendar in September specifically?
Yes, September is the month of the return of the sun to the southern hemisphere. The sun crosses the equator for 3 days and 3 nights. The sun died and rose on the third day and returned to the south and walked the frequencies of the energy portals that had been sleeping or hibernating during its cycle to the north. So the vortex alignment is actually ignited immediately as the sun crosses the equator. There is a certain star alignment, an energy alignment that is evoked in this portal, which is actually the marker stones or the vortex alignment at Adam's calendar. And the frequency shoots up to almost 300 gigahertz of frequency just by having the sun cross a certain region or a particular zone in the cosmos, in the cosmology, in the spaces. And I'm not sure how this was actually designed with the elevation of the vibrational vortex point at the calendar, but it's something that has mesmerized even scientists and physicists to say, why is it that the energies are evoked just by mere alignment of certain stars and the moon and the sun at certain alignments in the southern hemisphere and at certain portals or certain vibrational points on our planet, such as inzalo yelanga. That is still a mystery. And we started with only a group of 200 people. We went to a group of 1,000 people. Now, I don't know this year how it would be, because it seems like people are getting much more excited about this elevation of energies that spirals into creating a resonance with the amplification of these energies into the cosmic arena and creating huge electromagnetic fields at the sites. So people are, it's something of much more of physics explanation, quantum physics, and we need scientists to come and actually check why this has actually happened at this particular spot and why this energy suddenly goes high mad up into the whole cosmic arena, shooting from a certain specific vortex alignment that is at Adam's calendar. So this is why a lot of people come and actually experience this rise of the blood sun on this certain equinox alignment, in which every alignment falls into place. The Horus stone aligns to the rise of the sun the center calendar markers, the equinox markers, the moonstone, they are all aligned to the rise of the Orion belt. It's just something that we found out, and it was very fascinating. How were these structures aligned in one elementary alignment on a certain specific time of the year in the southern hemisphere when the sun crosses the equator by a single degree into the southern hemisphere?
It's fascinating
Absolutely.
how it all lines up, and to get to be there in these moments when these activations happen, when the energy's flowing through. And we were just out there the other day. It wasn't a specific alignment, but it was absolutely powerful to be at some of these spots. And for anybody that's just got on this call for the first time and you weren't here at the last call, we're going to be gathering together a group of people to go walk through all of these sites and specifically be at the calendar vortex on September, it's 21st, right? That's the
Yes.
spring equinox in the southern hemisphere. To be there, to not only receive the activation, but to do our work, to decode ourselves and expand our consciousness, and then to go to many of the other sacred locations that Edwin spoke about last time, and that he's going to continue speaking about in some of the future group calls coming up here in the app. So make sure you have your account in the app. Make sure you reach out to us if you want to get involved and come to some of these locations in September. Send us a message or an email. Get in contact with myself or Isla at some point. Sooner the better. And we'll jump on a call with you, go over all the details, and I'd love to have you guys join us there in person.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Edwin. It's lovely to hear from you again. And I always call him, he's like a walking book of knowledge. There's nothing he doesn't know. Thank you so much for sharing your gift with us. We really appreciate it. And we will keep you guys notified in the app on when we will have another gathering like this, probably about 4 weeks
Yep.
from now. Yeah.
Should be in about a month.
And
So,
Edwin will expand on one of the other sites, and I'm very excited. I'm excited to hear about the Sindwala caves more.
Yeah.
Seeing as that is a real, actual petrified dragon.
All right.
Yes. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Thanks again, Edwin.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful day ahead, beautiful weekend, and beautiful upcoming week.
Thank you so much, and good night, everyone. And it's night and good morning to others, and good night and good evening, good afternoon, and hope to meet you guys in the next session.
Amazing. Thank you, Edwin.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Through silver streams and skies of
at different frequencies. Yes, and this is an infinite grid of sound manifestation. So everything is actually a vibration. So when we say person, what do I mean? Per means of, son means sonic, so of sonic of sound. Person, I am of sound. This is what you are saying. Are you getting it? Are you learning anything? I said you are of sound. Person, per is of, and son comes from sonic, which is person. I am a person. I am of sound. This is what you are saying. Finish. And here we are.